So I keep hearing that you are on God's payroll and your provision is directly tied to your gift, right? This is what he innately placed in you, right? So that was the first part of the message I was discerning. And the second part of the message I was discerning is that you have some divine provision that is owed to you. Like this is back pay for the work that you have been doing. Right. And a part of this is not from your own effort. This is for some things that you have done that went unseen. Maybe you gave to people when you yourself didn't have it. So now you are on God's payroll. I'm getting payback. This is payback, but in a good way. Right. So in terms of your assignment, the payroll doesn't mean, this is passive provision. So you are employed by heaven, right? You take direct orders from God. Right? Holy Spirit is your boss, your CEO, right? And employees have instructions, assignments, deadlines, stewardship, and accountability. So that's what you're learning. That when you are working for God, that the money doesn't just fall on your lap, right? Your divine assignment comes with divine provision and responsibility, right? And as a employee, right, someone working for God in your divine assignment, right, you are learning that, you, she works hard for the money. Like you're learning that it's not something that is going to come easy, right? That God required. I'm getting, Holy Spirit has a certain code of ethics that those He employs must follow, right? That there is favor in the work, right? But there is more testing, right? More protocols that you have to follow. So Holy Spirit wants to remind you that He is your source, not the client, not Instagram, not the job, not the urgent bill, not people's approval. As you may be doing something that is unconventional, right? Or there's something that you're doing that it's like there's some kind of twist to it. Because, a lot of the people that I'm speaking to, your business is also your ministry, right? So there's some kind of unconventional way about it, the way you go about it, or certain tweaks that God has made you do. For instance, I saw a woman's video and she talked about how um, she had opened an event space, but then God called her to not serve any alcohol at the space. And she was really worried about how she would get any business, right? That's like the unconventional twist to the thing, right? And she still ended up doing really well. God still brought clients to her venue. So Holy Spirit is letting you know that at the end, He is the source, right? Even with what you're doing being unconventional, He's saying that you are not out here unsupported, that you are under assignment. So when you are on payroll, you need to move like the check is coming. You don't move like an orphan. You don't build from panic. You don't give away the work for free out of fear. You don't water down the instructions to make people comfortable. You don't abandon the assignment just because money is tight. You don't confuse delay with being abandoned by God, right? But you also know that being on God's payroll still requires accountability. You have to show up. You have to complete the work. You have to follow instructions, right? You have to price with integrity, do the job with integrity, serve the people assigned to you. You stop treating your gift like a hobby when God is requiring structure, right? So again, when you're on God's payroll, it doesn't mean that money is falling from the sky. God is saying that you stop acting like man is your employer because I am the one who called you, assigned you, corrected you, trained you, and I know how to get provision to the work I told you to build. And because you are on God's payroll, you cannot be paid by fear anymore, right? So fear cannot be your manager, your supervisor, or the one who writes your schedule, or the one who determines your obedience, right? So as a vessel, you have to understand that you are not unsupported, that you must stay in position like you know who your boss is. So your business, your assignment, and your obedience is being brought under God's government, right? So everything you do has to be managed by his instruction, not by your fear, right? So your obedience has to be bigger than your fear, right? So Holy Spirit showed me Romans chapter 12, verse 11, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, right? So you can't be lazy in business, passive in spirit, not serving money, not serving panic, not serving people's approval, that you serve the Lord through the work, right? Because you are on God's payroll, right? And that you are being corrected into the posture of a woman who understands that her business is not separate from her service to God. Your business is not just where you make money, it is where you serve the Lord because it belongs to Him. It has come into order. So everything within that business has to come into order: the price, the offer, the schedule, the delivery, your nervous system, and your fear around provision. So Holy Spirit is saying, work like you know who your true employer is. Okay, and your labor is not in vain, right? But you cannot be on God's payroll and still let fear clock you in every morning.